Ladies and gentlemen, if every time you open your mouth the words baby, honey, or babe fall out like loose change, then we need to talk. Because here's the brutal truth most men don't want to hear. Using tired, generic pet names is not making her feel special, it's making her feel replaceable. And if she feels replaceable, you've already lost her heart. You see, I'm not here to knock romance. I'm here to upgrade it, because there's a big difference between affection and connection. And while baby might sound cute in your head, it does absolutely nothing for a woman who craves emotional depth, masculine presence, and real intimacy. So today, I'm going to share 3 simple, powerful words you can start using immediately, words that speak directly to a woman's soul. Words that make her pause, smile, and feel safe in your energy. Words that win her heart without trying to manipulate her emotions. It's easy to believe that calling a woman baby or honey is an act of affection that strengthens connection. But in reality, such generic pet names can subtly chip away at the uniqueness of a relationship and make a woman feel like she's just another placeholder. The deeper issue with terms like baby or honey is that they lack specificity and intention. They are used so broadly that they no longer convey individual significance. When a man uses the same label with every woman, what does that label really mean? It becomes more about convenience than connection, more about routine than recognition. Women are deeply attuned to the emotional nuances behind words, and many can sense when a term is used out of habit rather than heartfelt emotion. When a woman hears a man call her baby, she might smile, but part of her wonders if he used the same word on his ex, or even on the woman he flirted with last week. That uncertainty creates distance rather than intimacy. She may not say it out loud, but she feels it in her core, the lack of individuality. Contrast that with a name or expression that is rooted in her specific presence, personality, and energy, one that cannot be easily transferred to another person. Women want to feel chosen, not categorized, and when men lean on cliché expressions, they unintentionally make women feel interchangeable. No matter how attractive or successful a man is, he cannot sustain emotional closeness if the woman feels emotionally anonymous. That's why breaking free from generic pet names is so essential, not because the words themselves are bad, but because the mindset behind them often lacks conscious affection. When a woman is truly connected to a man, what draws her in is not what everyone else hears, it's what only she hears. Personalized language shows effort, attentiveness, and a desire to relate to her as a one-of-a-kind individual. This is what makes her feel special and ultimately safe. Because when a woman feels emotionally safe and recognized, she opens herself completely physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In contrast, when she feels like she's just another baby in a man's phone, her heart begins to close, even if she stays physically present. Men who learn this early are the ones who rise above the average. They become unforgettable, not because they say more, but because they say what matters. So the next time you're tempted to say, "Hey baby," pause and ask yourself, are you speaking from habit or from a place of true connection? The kind of language that wins a woman's heart isn't accidental, it's intentional. It doesn't rely on surface-level expressions or shallow compliments. Instead, it reflects a man's emotional intelligence, his ability to tune into the deeper layers of human connection, and his willingness to speak with purpose. Most men are taught to believe that affection is about grand gestures, expensive gifts, or constant reassurance. But the truth is, the words that leave the deepest impression are the ones that feel genuine, thoughtful, and attuned to the woman's unique emotional needs. This is where intentional language becomes not just helpful, but essential. It's not about being poetic or overly romantic, it's about being real. It's about noticing her mood and asking, what's really on your mind, rather than brushing it off with a thoughtless, you're okay, baby. It's about telling her, you inspire me. Instead of giving her recycled praise like you're so pretty, intentional language connects to her inner world. It shows her that you're paying attention, that you're invested in who she is beyond her body or the role she plays in your life. Words have energy. Women feel that energy, and they often remember how something was said long after they forget the actual words. When you speak with presence, you signal to her that your mind is with her in that moment, and nothing makes a woman feel more emotionally secure than knowing a man is fully there. Lazy words, on the other hand, make her feel like an afterthought. She starts to question whether your connection is real or just convenient. A man who speaks intentionally, who chooses his words carefully and meaningfully, stands out in a world of noise. He doesn't need to be verbose or overly articulate. He simply needs to be aware of her emotional state, of the impact of his words, and of the dynamic he's creating with his communication. Intentional speech is a form of leadership in relationships. It guides the emotional tone, it invites openness, it sets boundaries, and most importantly, it builds trust. Because when a woman trusts your words, she begins to trust your heart. This kind of trust isn't built on declarations of love. It's built on consistency, clarity, and sincerity in communication. That's the real currency of romance. Not flowers or chocolates, but presence, expressed through intentional, respectful, emotionally resonant language. When a man calls a woman my queen, it's not just a sweet nickname, it's a symbolic gesture of reverence, of placing her in a position of high emotional value and treating her with dignity, admiration, and conscious respect. The term queen taps into a woman's innate desire to feel treasured and prioritized, not just desired for her body but celebrated for her essence. It speaks to the part of her that wants to be protected without being controlled, adored without being objectified. In a world where women are constantly pressured to earn attention by how they look, the words my queen shift the dynamic from performance to presence. It tells her, you don't need to perform to be worthy, you are already enough. That kind of affirmation has a powerful psychological and emotional effect. When a woman hears those words and believes that they're sincere, her guard drops. She steps more fully into her feminine energy, not as a defense mechanism, but as an invitation to deepen the connection. My queen isn't about elevating her above the man either. It's about creating a balanced dynamic where she feels both protected and empowered. The best relationships are not about dominance or submission, they're about reverence and mutual respect. When a man uses the term my queen with sincerity, it transforms how she sees him as well. She sees him as a man with values, with vision, with emotional maturity. He's no longer just a boyfriend or a flirt. He's someone who sees long term, who builds, who protects. This changes how she relates to him, how she shares with him, and how deeply she opens herself. And the beauty of this title is that it's not based on her beauty, her age, or even her behavior. It's based on who she is to him. That creates emotional safety, which is the foundation of lasting intimacy. Too many men throw around words like baby or sweetie because they've heard it in movies or seen it on social media. But those words often feel performative or hollow. My queen, when said with warmth and conviction, carries weight. It sets a tone, it invites depth, it awakens something sacred in her. That's how powerful words can be when used right. They're not just sounds, they're experiences. And my queen is one of those phrases that creates an experience of being truly seen, honored, and held in high regard, which is exactly what most women want but rarely receive. Saying gorgeous to a woman might seem like just another compliment, but when said with awareness and authenticity, it becomes a deeply transformative word that allows her to feel not only attractive, but appreciated on a soulful level. And like compliments that focus only on physical features such as hot, sexy, or cute, the word gorgeous has a poetic depth that extends beyond appearance. It recognizes her whole being, the way she carries herself, the light in her eyes, the softness in her voice, and the strength in her presence. It's a word that captures her essence, not just her external form. When a man tells a woman she's gorgeous in a moment where she's not trying to impress anyone, like when she's in sweatpants, sipping coffee, or talking about her dreams, that compliment lands much deeper than one thrown at her when she's all dolled up. It communicates that he sees her as beautiful even in her most authentic and unfiltered state. This is what builds real confidence in a woman, not the validation that comes from being admired when she's perfect, but the reassurance that she is radiant even when she's raw. The word gorgeous can be a portal to emotional intimacy when it's expressed with presence. When a man says it slowly, with eye contact and real emotion, it doesn't feel like a pickup line, it feels like a truth. And when a woman feels seen in this way, her entire energy changes. She becomes softer, more expressive, and more trusting. She feels less pressure to be on all the time because she knows that the man beside her sees her in ways most people don't. That level of recognition is rare, and it creates a bond that's difficult to break. Words like gorgeous aren't about charm, they're about connection. They say, "I see your light," and that's something women crave more than empty flirtation. Most men are trained to compliment what's obvious, the curves, the hair, the outfit. Few men notice what's true. A woman may receive dozens of compliments in a week, but she'll remember the one man who looked into her eyes and said, "You're absolutely gorgeous," in a way that felt like he was speaking to her soul, not her makeup. That's the kind of impact that lasts, and the kind of word that becomes unforgettable when used with care. Using a woman's name, especially in moments of intimacy, vulnerability, or genuine connection, may be the most underrated yet powerful way to deepen emotional intimacy and make her feel truly seen. Her name is the first gift her parents gave her. It holds meaning, history, and identity. It's uniquely hers, and when a man uses it thoughtfully and purposefully, it sends a very specific and powerful message. I see you, I know you, I respect you as you are. While pet names can create familiarity, they often blur the lines between affection and laziness. Using a woman's actual name, especially when paired with emotional sincerity, cuts through that blur. Imagine receiving a message that says, "Good morning, Sarah. I hope today brings you peace," versus "Morning, babe." Which one feels warmer, more personal, more grounded in care? Her name, when used with intention, reinforces her individuality. It doesn't reduce her to a role like girlfriend, partner, or lover. It acknowledges her personhood. It tells her she's not just loved, she's known. And that is everything in a world that often expects women to blend in, shrink, or be low maintenance. When a man uses her name in a moment of emotional significance, like during a disagreement, a compliment, or a romantic whisper, it has a grounding effect. It brings her into the moment, it makes her pause, it lets her know she matters right now, right here. Even sexually, whispering her name during an intimate moment activates a deeper emotional bond. It's not just about sensation, it's about recognition. On the other hand, relying too heavily on blanket terms like sweetheart or cutie may feel safe, but they rob the relationship of intimacy. They create emotional distance, masked as affection. But the power of her name cannot be overstated. When used correctly, it becomes a portal to her heart. It's a form of verbal eye contact. It makes your words stick. It turns a casual moment into a sacred one. And the best part is, it costs nothing, just presence, attention, and intention. So if you want to win her heart, don't just love her in general, love her specifically. Say her name like it's precious, because to her it is. When it comes to truly winning a woman's heart, what most men fail to understand is that it's not about performance, it's about presence. In a world where dating has become performative, with rehearsed lines, curated social media personas, and recycled compliments, the man who wins is the one who shows up fully, emotionally, mentally, and energetically. He doesn't speak to impress, he speaks to connect. He doesn't just tell her she's beautiful, he shows her he sees her strength, her tenderness, her fears, and her dreams. Performance is exhausting for both parties. It creates temporary attraction, not lasting intimacy. Women are deeply intuitive. They can feel when a man is putting on a show versus when he's being real. And the moment she senses performance, her guard goes up. She may smile, laugh, even go on a few dates, but her heart remains closed. Presence, however, unlocks everything. Presence says, I'm here with you. I'm not thinking about my phone, my ego, or my next move. I'm focused on you. That kind of presence is rare and powerful. It's in how you listen, how you touch, how you respond when she opens up. It's in how you speak her name, how you notice when something's off, how you ask questions that go beyond, how was your day? Women don't fall for perfect men, they fall for present men. Men who lead with authenticity, not performance. Who aren't afraid to slow down and speak from the heart. Who understand that emotional connection isn't created through tricks, tactics, or lines, but through the courage to be genuine. The man who wins her heart isn't louder, richer, or smoother. He's the one who sees her clearly, speaks intentionally, and shows up consistently. He creates a space where she doesn't need to perform, either where she can relax, exhale, and simply be. That's the magic of presence. And that's what transforms casual affection into lasting love.